My boss stole my startup idea, but he didn't know I left a trap. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Emma sat at her desk, staring blankly at the computer screen in front of her. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but no words came. It wasn't writer's block, it was betrayal that froze her hands and tightened the knot in her stomach. She had poured her heart into this idea, spent countless late nights refining it, only for him to take it from her like it meant nothing. Gregory Harper, CEO of Innovatech Solutions, wasn't just any boss. He was supposed to be a mentor, someone who believed in nurturing talent within his company. When Emma first pitched her idea, a revolutionary AI-driven platform designed to streamline small business operations, he had listened intently, nodding with what she thought was genuine interest. His questions were sharp, probing even, which made her believe he saw its potential. What she didn't realize then was how calculated those questions were, how they weren't meant to guide or support her vision but to dissect it, piece by piece, until he could claim it as his own. It all started 3 months ago during one of the quarterly brainstorming sessions. Emma had been hesitant to present her concept at first. She was still relatively new to the company, having joined Innovatech just over a year earlier after graduating top of her class. The culture there was competitive, almost cutthroat, and she often felt overshadowed by more experienced colleagues. But something about Gregory's encouragement pushed her forward. He had singled her out after a meeting once, telling her she had the spark needed to make big things happen. That moment stuck with her, fueling her confidence when self-doubt crept in. Her presentation went better than she ever imagined. Her voice trembled at first, but as she delved deeper into the intricacies of her prototype, passion took over. The room fell silent except for the occasional scribble of notes or murmured approval. Even the senior developers, who usually dismissed junior ideas without a second glance, seemed intrigued. When she finished, Gregory leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers beneath his chin. For a moment, there was silence, and then he smiled. "This is brilliant," he said finally, his tone measured yet enthusiastic. "Emma, you've really tapped into something here. I think we need to explore this further." She left that meeting on cloud 9, convinced she'd finally found her place in the world. Over the next few weeks, Gregory scheduled private meetings with her to discuss the project in detail. He asked technical questions, requested mock-ups, and pushed her to think bigger. At times, his intensity intimidated her, but she chalked it up to his drive for perfection. After all, he was known for turning ambitious ideas into reality. But then came the day everything changed. Emma arrived at work early, eager to finalize some last-minute tweaks before presenting an updated version of her proposal to the executive team. As she walked past Gregory's office, she noticed the door slightly ajar. Curiosity got the better of her, and she paused, straining to hear fragments of conversation drifting through the crack. "And if we tweak the interface a bit, it'll look completely different from the original pitch," Gregory was saying. His voice carried an edge of excitement, tinged with something darker, pride mixed with greed. Emma's blood ran cold. She pressed herself against the wall, listening intently. On the other side of the line, someone responded, a venture capitalist, judging by the clipped, polished tone. They discussed funding rounds, marketing strategies, and launch timelines. And then Gregory dropped the bombshell. "Yes, I know it originated as one of my employees' concepts," he admitted casually, as though discussing someone else's lunch order. "But let's be honest, they're too green to pull something like this off themselves. Besides, I've already restructured enough of it to call it mine." Emma staggered backward, her breath hitching in her throat. Her knees buckled, and she sank to the floor, clutching her chest as if trying to physically hold together the pieces of her shattered trust. Tears blurred her vision, but anger quickly burned them away. How could he do this? How could he steal not just her idea but also her dreams? For hours afterward, she sat numbly at her desk, replaying every interaction with Gregory in her mind. The way he'd prodded her for specifics, the endless follow-up questions, the thinly veiled promises of opportunity, all of it suddenly clicked into place. He hadn't been mentoring her, he'd been mining her. That night, unable to sleep, Emma opened her laptop and began typing furiously. If Gregory thought he could get away with this, he was sorely mistaken. While she might not have the resources or influence to confront him directly, she possessed something far more powerful: foresight. Embedded deep within the code of her prototype was a failsafe, a digital breadcrumb trail leading straight back to her. Every line of code, every algorithmic structure, contained subtle markers invisible to anyone unfamiliar with their origin. To an outsider, these markers would appear insignificant, mere quirks of programming style. But to someone who knew where to look, they told a story, one that proved beyond doubt that the idea belonged to her. As dawn broke, Emma closed her laptop and allowed herself a small, grim smile. Let him think he's won, she thought. Let him parade around with what he believes is his victory. Because sooner or later, the truth will come out, and when it does, he'll wish he'd never crossed her. The days that followed were excruciating. Emma forced herself to act normal, maintaining a facade of professionalism while secretly documenting every step Gregory took to develop her stolen idea. She attended meetings, contributed to unrelated projects, and endured his casual remarks about innovation and thinking outside the box. Each word felt like a knife twisting in her gut, but she swallowed her rage and bided her time. Meanwhile, Gregory threw himself into the project with alarming enthusiasm. He assembled a team of senior developers, handpicking individuals loyal to him and assigning them tasks under strict confidentiality agreements. Rumors circulated throughout the office about a game-changing initiative in the works, though no one seemed to know exactly what it entailed. Emma kept her head down, avoiding eye contact whenever possible, but she couldn't escape the suffocating atmosphere of betrayal that clung to her like a shadow. One evening, as she packed up her things to leave, Gregory approached her desk. His expression was unreadable, a mask of practiced neutrality that sent a shiver down her spine. Emma, he began, his voice smooth and deliberate, I wanted to personally thank you for your contributions to the company. Your insights have been invaluable. She stared at him, her jaw tightening as she fought to keep her composure. Thank you, she replied stiffly, forcing a polite smile. I'm glad I could help. He nodded, his gaze lingering on her for a beat too long. Keep up the good work. There's a bright future ahead for talented people like you. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Emma seething in his wake. Did he honestly think she wouldn't see through his thinly veiled manipulation? Or was he simply testing her, gauging whether she suspected anything? Either way, his words only strengthened her resolve. She wouldn't let him win, not now, not ever. Over the weekend, Emma retreated to her tiny apartment, locking herself away from the world as she plotted her next move. She reviewed every email exchange, every document shared with Gregory, searching for additional evidence to bolster her case. She reached out discreetly to former colleagues and industry contacts, gathering intel on Innovateka's inner workings and identifying potential allies. Most importantly, she refined her failsafe, ensuring it was foolproof. By Monday morning, she was ready. When she returned to the office, something shifted inside her. The fear and uncertainty that had plagued her for weeks dissolved, replaced by a quiet determination. She walked with purpose, her shoulders squared and her head held high. If Gregory noticed the change in her demeanor, he gave no indication. Instead, he continued to operate as though nothing was amiss, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. And so, the waiting game began. Emma knew patience would be key. Rushing to expose him prematurely could jeopardize everything she'd worked so hard to build. No, she needed to wait for the perfect moment, the instant when Gregory's arrogance blinded him completely, leaving him vulnerable to the trap she'd meticulously laid. Until then, she would endure. She would watch. And she would prepare. Because revenge, as Emma had learned, was a dish best served not just cold, but meticulously planned. Gregory's pace quickened as he navigated the bustling corridors of Innovatech Solutions, his polished leather shoes clicking rhythmically against the tiled floor. The air buzzed with anticipation, a palpable energy coursing through the office as employees whispered excitedly about the upcoming launch event. He exuded confidence, his tailored suit and perfectly coiffed hair radiating authority. Today marked the culmination of months of effort, months of strategic maneuvering, meticulous planning, and calculated risk-taking. This was his moment, and he intended to savor every second of it. As he entered the conference room reserved for the final pre-launch briefing, Gregory surveyed the scene with satisfaction. The sleek glass walls gleamed under the soft glow of recessed lighting, reflecting the animated faces of his carefully selected team. Senior developers huddled around laptops, running last-minute diagnostics on the platform. Marketing specialists pored over promotional materials, ensuring every detail aligned with the brand's cutting-edge image. Even the catering staff moved with precision, arranging trays of gourmet hors d'oeuvres and champagne flutes with military-like efficiency. All right, everyone, Gregory announced, clapping his hands to command attention. Let's bring it in. The chatter subsided as heads turned toward him, eyes wide with anticipation. He stepped to the center of the room, his presence commanding respect. Today is a monumental day for Innovatech. Not only are we unveiling a groundbreaking product, but we're also solidifying our position as leaders in the tech industry. This platform represents the future of small business innovation, and I want each of you to take pride in knowing you played a part in bringing it to life. A smattering of applause rippled through the room, accompanied by nods of agreement. Gregory basked in the admiration, allowing himself a brief moment to revel in the adulation. He had orchestrated this entire operation with surgical precision, transforming Emma's raw concept into a polished masterpiece. From the streamlined user interface to the sophisticated AI algorithms powering the backend, every element bore his unmistakable stamp of excellence. Our beta testers have reported overwhelmingly positive feedback, he continued, gesturing toward a large monitor displaying glowing testimonials. They rave about the intuitive design, the seamless integration capabilities, and most importantly, the tangible impact on their operational efficiency. We've created something truly transformative, and the market is going to eat it up. Behind him, Emma stood quietly near the doorway, observing the spectacle unfold with a mixture of disgust and fascination. She watched as Gregory basked in the spotlight, accepting praise for a creation that wasn't his. Her knuckles whitened as she clenched her fists, resisting the urge to storm into the room and expose him right then and there. But she reminded herself of the plan, the intricate web she had woven to ensure justice would prevail. Patience, she repeated silently, like a mantra. Patience. Gregory concluded the briefing with a flourish, urging the team to maintain focus during the final stretch. As the group dispersed, he lingered behind, chatting animatedly with key stakeholders. Emma seized the opportunity to slip unnoticed into the adjacent server room, where racks of humming equipment lined the walls. She had spent countless hours studying the layout, memorizing access codes, and identifying vulnerabilities. Tonight, she would plant the final component of her trap, a digital time bomb set to detonate precisely when Gregory least expected it. With practiced ease, she connected her encrypted USB drive to the main server terminal. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as she uploaded a series of scripts designed to activate her fail-safe mechanism. These scripts would infiltrate the platform's core architecture, embedding irrefutable proof of her authorship within its very fabric. Once triggered, they would generate an audit trail visible to anyone with the technical expertise to decipher it. In essence, she was weaving her signature into the DNA of the stolen idea, ensuring that no amount of obfuscation could erase her contribution. As the upload completed, Emma withdrew the USB drive and slipped it back into her pocket. A wave of adrenaline coursed through her veins, sharpening her senses. She glanced at her reflection in the metallic casing of a nearby server rack, noting the steely determination etched into her features. This was war, and she was prepared to fight dirty if necessary. Back in the conference room, Gregory remained oblivious to the ticking clock counting down to his downfall. Surrounded by sycophants eager to curry favor, he reveled in their fawning compliments. One particularly ambitious young developer gushed about the elegance of the platform's coding structure, eliciting a patronizing chuckle from Gregory. "It's always gratifying to see talent recognize genius," he quipped, patting the developer on the shoulder. "Though I must admit, inspiration can strike in unexpected places. Sometimes, all it takes is a fresh perspective to unlock true innovation." Emma gritted her teeth, suppressing a bitter laugh. Fresh perspective indeed. If only he knew how literal that statement was. She lingered in the shadows, watching as he basked in the illusion of invincibility. Little did he realize that his empire of deceit rested atop a foundation riddled with cracks she had deliberately engineered to widen under pressure. The hours ticked by as preparations for the launch intensified. Emma played her role flawlessly, contributing suggestions and offering assistance whenever called upon. Her outward demeanor remained calm and composed, masking the storm brewing within. Inside, however, her emotions churned violently, rage, vindication, fear, and hope colliding in a turbulent maelstrom. She thought of the countless sleepless nights spent honing her idea, the sacrifices she had made to pursue her dream. All of it had been stolen, twisted into a tool for Gregory's self-aggrandizement. Yet despite the injustice, a flicker of optimism persisted. Justice might be delayed, but it would not be denied. Finally, the moment arrived. The grand ballroom of the downtown convention center shimmered with opulence, crystal chandeliers casting prismatic reflections across gleaming marble floors. Hundreds of attendees mingled beneath banners emblazoned with Innovateca's logo, sipping champagne and exchanging pleasantries. Reporters armed with cameras and microphones jostled for prime positions near the stage, eager to capture the unveiling of the year's most anticipated tech innovation. Gregory ascended the podium amidst thunderous applause, his charismatic smile radiating charm. He launched into a rehearsed speech, extolling the virtues of the platform and painting a vivid picture of its transformative potential. Emma watched from the sidelines, her pulse racing as she anticipated the impending reckoning. Somewhere within the labyrinthine network supporting the demonstration unit scattered throughout the venue, her fail-safe lay dormant, awaiting activation. "And now," Gregory declared, his voice swelling with theatrical flair, "let us witness the future of small business technology." With a dramatic flourish, he gestured toward the massive screens flanking the stage. The lights dimmed, plunging the audience into expectant darkness. For a fleeting moment, everything hung in suspenseful balance. Then, chaos erupted. The screens flickered erratically, displaying fragmented lines of code interspersed with cryptic messages. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the crowd as technical staff scrambled to regain control. Gregory's confident facade faltered, panic flashing across his face. Behind the scenes, Emma activated the final phase of her plan via a secure remote connection. Data packets flooded the system, overwhelming firewalls and bypassing security protocols. Within minutes, undeniable evidence of her intellectual property saturated every connected device in the room. Journalists furiously typed notes, capturing screenshots of damning metadata linking the platform directly to Emma's original prototypes. Social media feeds exploded with speculation as leaked documentation spread virally across cyberspace. The tide of public opinion shifted rapidly, turning from admiration to outrage as the truth came to light. Still standing in the shadows, Emma allowed herself a fleeting smile. The trap had sprung exactly as planned. Now the real battle would begin, not merely exposing Gregory's theft, but reclaiming her rightful place as the visionary behind the innovation. Whatever happened next, she faced it with unwavering resolve, knowing she had struck the first blow in a war for justice and redemption. As the room descended into chaos, Gregory's composure shattered. He frantically signaled to his team, but their efforts were futile against the cascading evidence Emma had unleashed. Screens displayed timestamps, code snippets, and even fragments of her original notes, irrefutable proof that the idea was hers. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder, morphing into gasps and whispers of disbelief. Emma stepped forward, emerging from the shadows as if on cue. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. "This platform wasn't born in a boardroom or dreamed up by someone who thinks innovation can be stolen," she said, her tone steady and commanding. Every eye turned to her, the air thick with tension. It came from countless sleepless nights, from passion, and from believing I could make a difference, even when no one believed in me. Gregory stammered, trying to deflect, but his words fell flat. Reporters surrounded Emma, cameras flashing as she revealed documents and emails chronicling how he had systematically dismantled her trust while claiming her work as his own. Social media amplified her story, turning her into an overnight symbol of resilience and justice. By morning, Gregory's reputation lay in ruins. Investors pulled funding, lawsuits piled up, and Innovateca's stock plummeted. Meanwhile, Emma became the face of a movement, a beacon for creatives and innovators everywhere. She reclaimed her idea, launching it independently under her name, fueled by public support and venture capital eager to back authenticity over arrogance. In the end, Emma didn't just win, she transformed her pain into purpose. Standing at the helm of her own company, she vowed never to let fear or greed dictate her path again. Justice had been served, not just for herself, but for anyone who dared to dream. And though scars remained, they reminded her of the fire that forged her resolve. Betrayal might wound, but it could never extinguish the light of truth.